welcome everybody online. It's great that you've joined us today. We are thrilled to have Martin Leiderman and his wife Susan with us again for our second series. So today, as I said, is our second session on the Secret Doctrine, and the topic is the three Logoi in the Secret Doctrine as the inner master in the voice of the silence. So welcome again, Martin, and over to you.
Thank you again for the invite, and thank you all of you for being part of this. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can read that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So in the first talk, it was about the beginning of the Secret Doctrine, main idea, which is the universe and everything in it, including us. We have an eternal nature and a periodical. It's eternal and periodical. It's like an occult axiom. Please keep that in mind, eternal and periodical. You're going to find that throughout the Secret Doctrine, those two words together. So don't know if you have any questions, just don't be shy, What's important is to contemplate oneself and see that we have an eternal aspect, the monad. And we have a periodical nature, our physical body, right? Very periodical. Mine is running out, so very periodical. So, and therefore, in this universe, we have the one, the idea of the one, in that eternal aspect, and the many, all of us, and all of the things. That line is found every time Blavatsky refers to the main ideas of the Secret Doctrine. One life, one form, one deity, one element, one law, one force, and then 7 lives, 7 type of race, 7 forces, 7, you know what I mean? It's all expressed in 7, and from the 7 archetypical ideas, the whole universe. That's basically what we did last time, and we illustrated that, or I illustrated that the way Blavatsky depicted that through symbols. Remember that the imagery presented in the Secret Doctrine is very important to keep in mind. That illustration worth a lot. So when you study the Secret Doctrine, and please start from the proem, it's extremely important to study the proem as much as you can, because all its vocabulary of the Secret Doctrine, all the main ideas, the occult processing nature, everything like that, the foundation you will find in the proem. Without knowing the proem, it's very, very difficult to study the Secret Doctrine. Another advice I give you is that you probably know that when you study the Secret Doctrine, you must have the Theosophical Glossary next to you, because we can keep in mind all the Sanskrit, the Hebrew, the Egyptians, the Akkadian, Hermetic, etc., and of course you need to study the key to Theosophy, and of course the commentaries that Blavatsky gave in her Blavatsky Lodge in London. That's very, very good book. Hopefully you have it. Richard, do you know if you have it for sale or in England? There are a couple versions of that. Therefore, if you remember, one of the techniques that I used to study Theosophy, and specifically the ideas found in Theosophy, is what Plato recommended us, and he called it my way. This is what I do. And what he does is, when he studies something, he collects all the facts that he can, descriptions, illustrations, functions about that. Think about Fohat, for instance, and you gather all those ideas, all those facts, illustrations and names and functions, and you make a whole of it, right? I mean, with your mind, you just think about pieces of a puzzle and build a whole with your mind. See it all together, Include everything that you study, and then contemplate that. And when you contemplate, the light of the oneness will illuminate you, will transform you. This is why studying theosophy doesn't stay on the level of intellectuality, but we start there. We need to know what we're studying and collect information. Again, at the end, use your manas buddhi, and integrate that with that great tool that we have inside us. So hopefully that helps you a lot. Today, we're going to use another technique to study these ideas, and I hope you enjoy it. So today's topic is the three logoi. It's a Greek word for the demiurge. It came from Plato in the Timaeus. Please read the Timaeus. It's very important theosophical work. A lot of our vocabulary and ideas came from that book. In that book, Plato divided the dialogue in three sections. One is about Atlantis and cosmogenesis, and the last part, anthropogenesis. Imagine that. Isn't that theosophy? Atlantis, cosmogenesis, and anthropogenesis. More on that a little bit later. So today we're going to jump into the next topic, which is the three logoi. And those are key ideas to understand theosophy. And the reason why we're doing that, and the second point in this slide, is the third logos becomes the object of meditation in the voice of the silence. And one of the names names of the third logos is Alaya. And I'm not sure if I'm saying properly, Alaya. Mm-hmm. Some people call it Alia. That was Nicholas Wicks, and his Alia. Anyhow, that's our inner master, and we're going to talk more about that later on. This is what we're studying theosophy. This is the theology and the philosophy of theosophy. This is the reason why it's so important to understand cosmogenesis, because all of a sudden we are there and we are one with it. And how to get there is in the voice of the silence. You're going to see that a little bit later, hopefully clearer. So in the Theosophical Glossary, the word logos is defined as
the manifested deity with every nation and people, the outward expression or the effect of the cause which is ever concealed. Thus, speech is the logos of thought. Hence, it is aptly translated by the verbum and word in its metaphysical sense.
So the manifested deity in every nation. So when you hear about Jehovah and Ammon and Zeus, Jupiter, Brahma, creating, manifesting the cosmos, the universe, the planets, and the things, that's the third logos. For us, it's the logos, the idea of the logos. Good. Along with all the books that I have referred to, there is one that Blavatsky uses, besides, of course, the Timaeus for the general philosophy, is the lectures or the notes of the Bhagavad Gita by Subba Rao. In this book, he did something phenomenal, which is to explain the Bhagavad Gita using the Platonic ideas of the Logos, which Blavatsky uses it later on, or used later on in the Secret Doctrine and or her teachings. You see that? There are 4 lectures, and they are extremely important. So this is like the justification of why the Bhagavad Gita, or how the Bhagavad Gita and Vedanta explains the idea of the Logos. This is if you want to advance your studies on the idea of the Logos. So another very important word here is that is the outward expression of something that is concealed. What is concealed? Deity. When it's not concealed, you have a creative God. Let there be light, right? That's the word. That's the word. And that's the logos, the manifested deity. But when you look at the Secret Doctrine on the prone, on the first page, I'm going to read it to you. I want you to hear the word logos in the first few lines in the prone.
On the first page is an immaculate white disc within a dull black ground. On the following page, the same disc, but with a central point. Okay, the first the student knows to represent cosmos in eternity. Before the reawakening of still slumbering energy, the emanation of the word in later systems.
You see that? This is logos. Knowing the idea of the logos, immediately you recognize is before the reawakening, the emanation of the word of the logos in later system, of the creative manifesting deity. So knowing what logos means, you immediately can relate it and link it and connect it to the studies of the Secret Doctrine. And then words like vibration, energy, Vach, the goddess Vach, and the voice, Om, all that is related to the logos. Got it? This is how you link those ideas. So please keep that in mind, that again, the logos is very important. So the logos symbolically, Blavatsky depicts them as a point in the center of the circle. This is the first logos. Horizontal line, and I left the point there for reference. This is the second logos. The second logos must give you or evoke in your mind or soul the idea of duality, upper and lower. Remember, upper and lower, not right nor left. This is metaphysics, this is occultism, this is sacred geometry. The imagery is very important to keep as such. Ask yourself, if the line is vertical and there is symmetry in that respect, then you have two logos, the good and the bad, the right and the left, and the image, what it projects to us is God and the devil, and etc., etc. Above and below is what Blavatsky wants to give us. Therefore, the line is horizontal. Try to explain to yourself, to visualize both ideas. One is why the second or the third image or the second logos is a horizontal line. We're going to do an exercise. You're going to see it in the Secret Doctrine, the real reason for that, of using that imagery. And then the third logos is depicted in two different ways, or across now with a vertical line or a triangle. So if you see this is the fourth stage, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the idea of the cross as 4 is right there. Or Father, Mother, and Son, the idea of the Trinity is there. So sometimes Blavatsky counts 1, 2, 4 or 1, 2, 3. And that's okay. These two represent the same way, the third logos. In the summary of in the prome, in the summary of the first fundamental proposition of the Secret Doctrine, she gave us a summary. And she said, this will give us a super clear idea. Well, you know Blavatsky. There's nothing clear in the Secret Doctrine. It has to be worked out really, really hard. So don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged. I've been studying it for more than 40 years. I still don't understand it, but don't get discouraged. So this is what she wrote about the logos. First is the idea of the absolute, which there is nothing in there. There is a black background, and there is a white circle. And remember, when she defines the white circle, she said, this the center is everywhere, and the circumference is nowhere, or something like that, she says, because this is the idea of nothingness. In ancient times, the idea of the zero as a number did not exist. Will you read number 1, please?
Sure. The absolute, the parabrahm of the Vedantins, or the one reality, Sat, which is, as Hegel says, both absolute being and non-being.
Then comes the point, which is the words that she uses for the point in the circle is it emerges, it shows up, it emanates, it appears. These are various words that she uses to show the difference between the first illustration and the second illustration. And it says, it's always there, but in Pralaya you don't see it. There's nobody to see it anyways. It's all darkness. It's like the zero, nothingness, sunyata, the void, the chaos in the Greek times. So the point is always there. Nobody created the point, because the point is the root of all, is the universe all, is the one all, is the cause of everything, and therefore is the first logos, where everything comes from. So a beautiful meditation is to be able to look within ourselves and resolve everything in this universe, on whatever we know, to the one, to the idea of the oneness in Plato's word. So we're going back, right, to the beginning of this Manvantara, this emanation of the word, and go to the one. And if we can get to that darkness, we are home. Isn't that beautiful? That's home for us. So it's very difficult to do that. And you will find that in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, it's so difficult to meditate on Brahman, but in me it's very easy. I'm right here in front of you, Arjuna, and Christ said the same thing, Jesus, to my Father, you have to go through me. It's easier to go through the third logos and contemplate the idea, and that is the teaching of the voice of the silence. We're going to see in a minute. So the third logos. So the first logos is called then?
The first manifestation, the impersonal and, in philosophy, unmanifested logos, the precursor of the manifested. This is the first cause, the unconscious of European pantheists.
It's very important to realize that it's impersonal, unmanifested, but it's the first cause. As a point, it has no weight, no mass, no dimensions, but it's there. It's there. And it's the causeless cause of all. When it shows up, it becomes the first cause of all. So this is the causeless cause, but it's always there. We just don't see it. This is Pralaya, remember, before the awakening of the cosmos. And now here, the cosmos is awakened, but the point is unmanifested, And the root of all, the cause of all, right, of all that there is in this universe. And then comes look at how the absolute being nothing still is number one. You're still counting it. That's a trick in numerology and in sacred geometry, to add that nothingness, that sunyata, which is almost like a sin in some cultures, to add sunyata to this counting. But here we are counting. When it comes to the second logos, it must give us the idea of duality. So look at the comma and the semicolon, and you will see duality everywhere. So it says what?
Spirit matter, life,
comma,
life, semicolon, the spirit of the universe, the Purusha and Prakriti, or the second logos.
So you have a set of things here. It is two of them. You see that? So the second logos is Father, Mother is right there. And And spirit matter is right there. But look at the spirit and matter are with
A dash.
a dash, thank you, which means it's only one word. And then the other side is life. See that? Also, the spirit of the universe is another word. And now a Sanskrit term, Purusha and Prakriti, separated, but as another term. So the idea of duality, positive and negative, masculine, feminine, above and below, etc., etc., is the second logos. In the stanzas of Xi'an, it will become, and I have to bring this back. I need to grab it somewhere. Sorry about this. To be able to get to the Secret Doctrine. In the stanzas of Xi'an, we will find it in, and remember, we need to work with the book. In the stanzas of Xi'an, and hopefully you can read it, in 1-1, stanza 1, sloka 1, read the duality when you read this. The eternal parent, one side of the equation, wrapped in her ever invisible robes, the other side. It's a duality. So this represents the universe, the one all addressed. But the two is there already. You see that? The one all addressed is really a duality. It's like the yin and yang and the yang. Nobody creates here anything out of nothing. Everything emerges like a plant from a seed. Everything is there already. It just needs to manifest. So did you see the duality? The eternal parent, wrapped in her ever invisible robes, had slumbered once again in duration, in time, 7 eternities. So cool? Okay, hopefully this clarifies a little bit the idea of duality in it. Then comes the third logos, and this is when the universe explodes. Go ahead.
Cosmic ideation,
Ooh,
Mahat, or intelligence, the universal world soul, the cosmic noumenon of matter, the basis of the intelligent operations in and of nature, also called Mahabuddhi. And you added the other terms here, Alaya, Anima Mundi,
and
Akasha.
Akasha, which are other words that Blavatsky uses for the third logos. And remember the word alaya, please make that your inner teacher, the voice of the silence, begs us to do that. And we're going to see that in a minute. This is the word that Blavatsky uses as the mystical path of a theosophist. So we have 3 logos and where they come from. They all emerge from this. So these are not entities because there is no monad associated with that. To be evolving, and that's going to be the next talk, to be evolving in this universe is, or better said, evolution or progression in this universe requires a monadic impulse. Blavatsky said, these are not things, they are not gods, they are not objects, they are not beings, they are events. So we can understand how from the nothingness or absoluteness, like she calls it, emerges the 1, the 2, and the 3. And then Plato explains this very well, and please study the idea of the 1 in Parmenides. This is, I'm promoting Plato. You know, Plato needs a manager in the 21st century, so that's me. So please study the Parmenides of Plato. The book is about the ideas and the idea of the 1 specifically, and Timaeus to understand the emanation of the universe, the manifestation of the universe. So all ends in the third logos. So the third logos then is the manifested deity in every tradition. The one who says, let there be a universe, let there be light, let there be taka, taka, taka. So here's where we are. You see that? Don't know if you have any question about this 1, 2, 3, the 3 logos. These are 3 stages. By the moment we are on the 3rd logos, the universe just explodes in beauty. And our fairy tale stars, just like that. This is where the monads come out and the structure of the universe is formed. The laws of the universe appears, and we're going to see that in a minute. So let's study this a little bit more. So again, we said last time that a dark circle with a dark point in a dark background, and this is how she explains it in the commentaries when people ask her in meeting number 5, I think, what about why is a white circle when we are in Pralaya? She said, you're right, it's a dark circle. Let's move on. So she was so good at it. So remember that in when you imagine the point in the center of the circle, Manvantara, right? If you know the point is there, still Pralaya hasn't emerged. Now, what is this darkness? How do we understand the darkness? Remember what I told you? You collect all the information you can, the illustrations, descriptions, names, processes that are involved, and make a whole. Let's see if we can. In the stanzas of Xian, remember the word darkness, Blavatsky uses it many places, but let's just understand the stanzas of Xian, or better said, let's just use the stanzas of Xian. Look at this. In 1-5, this means stanza 1, number 5, and we are only in cosmogenesis. It said, darkness alone filled the boundless all. First idea of darkness, besides the first page of the proem. We are in Pralaya. Now we know darkness alone filled the boundless all. Do you feel it? This is a different field, right? You feel it with your soul. Do you see it, contemplate, and these are good practices of contemplation, using our integrating faculty of the higher mind illuminated by Buddhi. Do you see that in Pralaya there is no activity? Darkness alone filled the boundless all. The next one, in stanza 2, which she said, it's like stanza 1, but very close to Manvantara, the beginning of the universe. She now describes darkness as alone was father, mother, Swavat. Now it's 2 terms. You see that? Look how father, mother is what became from the eternal parent, wrapping her ever invisible robes. In stanza 2, the vocabulary changed because now we are very close to Manvantara, the emanation of the universe, the manifestation of the universe. The eternal parent became father, mother, and the robes, the primordial precosmic matter, still is precosmic matter, but the name is Swabhavat. Isn't that interesting? See, yet the 2 is already there. And then in the stanza 3, she reminds us that there is a point, and that point is the germ. The germ, the point that dwelleth in darkness. So these 2 is, if you can see the one dot and expand it, you will see 2 things, above and below, father, mother, Swabhavat. So far, so good. That dot in manifestation, as it becomes the universe, the second moment after the 1 is the 2, and it's father, mother, Swabhavat, second logos. First logos, the point, the germ. Is it clear more or less? She said yes, yes. Okay, you see, we added another idea on darkness that fills the boundless soul, that the germs is there. The germ is father, mother, and Swabhavat. So we have the nothingness of sunyata, or chaos, or the void of, or the whole in Pralaya. We have the point, which is going to be the universe, the one all, the cause of all, the root of all, the germ. And in it, the duality, father, mother, Swabhavat. And then In 3, when the universe starts the Manvantara, the awakening of the universe, darkness radiates light. Now, how do you see that darkness radiates light? Have you ever seen darkness radiates light? Yes, here in the Secret Doctrine. So in 6, she tells us darkness vanished and was no more. And now she explains that. It disappeared in its own essence, the body of fire and water, mother and the father, or father and mother. So disappearing in its own essence means that the essence of darkness in Manvantara is radiancy. See that? Is that ocean of radiance, is the fullness of light. That's a great, great idea. In Manvantara is a white disk to tell us that we are in manifestation. Light fills now the universe. Light means Fohat. It means wisdom. It means that we can contemplate it with our inner eyes, the eye of the Dogma in stanza 1, the eye of the inner eyes of the adept, of us who meditate and contemplate, and then it disappears. There is no more darkness because manifestation is on the way. You see that? So by collecting just 2, 4, 5 ideas, plus the first that we read in page 1 in the prone, you get a better understanding of what this darkness is. So when you see a work of art, and I didn't bring it, which is, for instance, The Ancient of the Days of William Blake, and look for it if you don't know that one. Is very incredible. The background of The Ancient of the Days is dark. So his vision was correct. The background is dark because that's where everything emerges. Then it's a disc, and then the third logos is the Ancient of the Days. And he has a compass full of light and fire. It explains the 3 logos really well. Don't know if you have any questions at this time, but this is how you have it right there. I don't know if you can see it, but you can see the dark background. Thank you. The circle, that's the disc, now is full of light, sun-like, and red is all phohatic. And the sun, the third logos, is now pointing at the universe to manifest it in stages. Very, very impressive. If you see a painting that starts with red and or gold color or light color, starts on the third logos. See that? So this is a sacred iconography, and colors mean things. And now you know darkness, white, the sun. Or point, line, and triangle or point, line, the cross. So far, so good. This is darkness, our new friend. We know it really well. We have descriptions, we have processes. You can add names to it. The Greeks call it the void, the chaos, and so on. Every tradition has a name for that. And then we have duality. That duality, that duality we need to also understand. The one becomes the two because it's always been the two. It's just that in Pralaya, it became one again and disappeared in that darkness. Now in Manvantara, we have, after the one is the horizontal line, and the idea of duality has to be in our mind. And we know this. We read the 1:1. The eternal parent, wrapped in her ever invisible robes, had slumbered once again. This is Pralaya. The eternal parent is in the invisible robes, is the duality in us. See that? Also, she wrote it that this is the root of the world. This is the point in the circle. But the point in the circle is dual. Devamatri and Swavat. Devamatri is the mother of all the gods, or the divine mother, is also another word for eternal parents. There's no sex here either, she tells us. Swavat becomes primordial matter or precosmic matter, right? So you see that this duality is present when we think about the universe. 1, 2, 3. Then in stanza 2, number 5 and 6, Loka 6, 5 and 6, she wrote, darkness alone was father, mother, Swavat. These two are the germ, and the germ is one. So now we know, again, that the eternal parent is also called Devamatri, is also called father, mother. Invisible robes is called Swavat. Later on, she's going to use the word, or earlier on in the proem, Mula Prakriti. These are two, or precosmic matter, or substance. All these words are, remember, collect words to describe the idea you're studying. Now we know that darkness radiates light. It disappears in its own essence. Now we are in Manvantara. And in stanza 3, number 10, Sloka 10, she explains who Father, Mother, Swavat is. Now, listen well and try to see it in your soul, to see if you can be or connect with the beginning of the universe. Susan, read this slowly.
Father, mother, spin a web whose upper end is fastened to spirit, the light of the one darkness, and the lower one to its shadowy end, matter. And this web is the universe, spun out of the two substances made in one, which is Svabhavat.
So, look how beautiful and perfect it is. Darkness is Father, Mother, Swavat. What do they do? What role do they have? This duality in this universe. So the role of the Father, Mother is what? Spin a web. And to spin a web, you need to have a thread. This is the threads of the physicists, quantum physicists, that want to see threads everywhere before the elementary particles. This is they understand these threads. They must be there somewhere. So Father, Mother spins a web whose upper end is fastened to what? Spirit. So we have to have spirit above and matter below. So the role of Father, Mother, one aspect of the duality, is to spin that web. One is fastened to spirit, the other to matter. Isn't that interesting? That web is going to be septenary, and that's going to be our septenary universe. In that septenary universe, in the lower 4 layers or planes or fields of activity, you're going to have the famous planetary chains where we evolve. Everything in the universe evolved in the 4 lower planes in a chains of globes. Very interesting, isn't it true? The upper 3 are too informal, no matter to things to happen. Atma Buddhi Manas, that's full of light there. So, okay, and so what is Swavat? Swavat is spirit and matter, which are one. We always hear and read in Theosophy, spirit and matter are one. The two substances made one, which is Swavat. So try to imagine this, try to illustrate this, and collect more ideas about this duality. You will see that universe unfolding. This is an incredible moment to be able to see it. Then stanza 3, number 7 is the third logos. And in the third logos, you're going to see something extremely important. And let's go there, and let's ask Susan to read it, so I can spare you from my English. And here we go. Now, in stanza 3, number 7, Sloka 7, she's going to describe I say she because she chose the vocabulary in the translation from the Censar, or the Masters did. But it's her pen. Anyways, so stanza 3, number 7, is asking us to behold the third logos, which is the manifested deity, the creative deity, the one who will say, let there be a universe, let there be light. Is the Jupiter, the Demiurgos, the God that creates things now, right? The word have now a form. And that's the God that every religion prays to. Behind that, there is a mysterious deity, unmanifested, no form, no shape. Blavatsky called it Bines, or the absolute, etc., etc. So there are two beholds in this Sloka 7. Behold means contemplate with your eyes. There are only 4 beholds in the stanzas of Xi'an. 2 of them are right here, very important. And what is behold for you? And since I don't have you in front of me, Susan, what is behold for you? To put you in the spot.
It's a very special moment.
Okay.
It's a very pivotal moment and a crucial moment. I mean, clearly you're being asked to look, but also to contemplate. And in this one, it's very special to note that the first behold unfolds
you're going to read it.
What the logos is.
Right.
And then the second, what the logos does.
Okay, perfect. So behold means to contemplate. So read the first behold. This is the description of the logos, the pedigree, where it came from, the radiancy of the logos, the reason why this is so true and transformative. And the second is what he does as a manifested deity. Go ahead.
Behold, O Lanu, the radiant child of the two, the unparalleled refulgent glory, bright space, son of dark space, which emerges from the depths of the great dark waters. It is Oyahu, the younger, he shines forth as the sun. He is the blazing divine dragon of wisdom. The one is 4, and 4 takes to itself 3, and the union produces the Sapta, in whom are the 7, which become the Tridasa, or the hosts and the multitudes. Behold him lifting the veil and unfurling it from east to west. He shuts out the above and leaves the below to be seen as the great illusion. He marks the places for the shining ones and turns the upper into a shoreless sea of fire, and the one manifested into the great waters.
So here it is. The third logos is bright space. This is very a physical description of the third moment in the universe. Son of dark space. Therefore, the moment that bright space is on, the universe is manifesting and is full of glory, unparalleled, radiant, transmutative. Now the monads come out and all happy. We're going to learn and evolve and progress and all that. She uses an ancient word, Oyahu, the younger, the third logos. The father is the dark space, right? And so on. Another name for it is the dragon of wisdom. And then there is a numerical key there. We're not going to study that now. And then on the second behold, now you need to contemplate the purpose of that, the function, what it does. And he lifts the veil from east to west. What does it mean, east to west? It's related to the sun, right? That's the analogy. As the sun illuminates the things in this world for us to study, so the third logos illuminates the ideas for us to get enlightenment and hopefully moksha, liberation. or in like in the voice of the silence, that's prajna paramita, or like in voice of the silence, to renounce to it, to nirvana. Then he shuts the above. Now listen to the duality. This is why above and below in occultism give the right idea of what's going to happen. He shuts out the above. The above is not seen by our eyes, only contemplating. We can only contemplate it, right? And leave the below to be seen as the great illusion. The above is related to the sea of fire, and below the great waters. You see, fire, water, and so on. So this is the third logos. I hope you're getting an organic idea that we belong here. This is who we are, and this is the universe that we are in it. So this is the third logos. The whole idea of the secret doctrine is to take us from this darkness in pralaya to the idea of the third logos, because that it begins our, like I said, the fairy tale that is going to, at the end, illuminates us. So very important. So here's the how she tells us. Back to, this is Blavatsky. Sorry. Okay. This line means that this is pralaya, cosmos in eternity, in the periodical manifestation, and then it will come a rest. You know, this is the periodical aspect of the universe, manifestation and rest. You have the first logos, the second logos, the third logos. The third logos becomes the dragon of wisdom. We just read that. Right? That's very Chinese and Egyptian and Hermetic and pre-Columbian and so on. The dragon is everywhere. And then in stanza 3-7, she described the third logos as the dragon of wisdom. In stanza 5, you have it now as the primordial 7, the seventh breath of the dragon or of the third logos, and manifesting Fohat and the second 7, which are the Lipika. This is very simple, isn't that true? With a little illustration, gathering of data and putting it together, you see the whole picture. And the whole picture is in here, where Blavatsky tells us in the prom, in page 16, I think, the following, that the primordial 7, this is in page 16 or 14, primordial 7, contemplating the ideas in the cosmos. These ideas are the Platonic ideas, the idea of everything. Fohat stars and spirit and matter are joined. Remember what we read about the third logos? Spirit is joined to matter. The fabric of the universe is made in 7 layers, in 7 planes of activities. The laws of nature shows up, and we can contemplate it with the eye of the dogma, the eye of contemplation. That's the eye in the dollar bill. So be careful how you spend it, right? So this is the idea. There's another way to describe this manifestation of the universe in stanza 6 by the Kuan Yin. Kuan Yin, as the female logos, represents also an aspect of the creative logos. And she uses another imagery to establish the universe. Again, the third logos, when you look at the third logos with a loop, like when you look at the first logos, you have duality there, and you have the 3 there, or the 4, like the yin and the yang, and the yang and the yin, and the yin and the yang, you know, the 1, 2, 4. Here, the third logos, that the son of the first logos, is really 7. It's the 7 luminous, 7 primordial in the secret doctrine, the Ahi, and they are the ones who contemplate the ideas. In the Timaeus, Plato just stays with the third logos and describes it as the demiurgos. And the demiurgos contemplate his own mind, the Mahat, the Mahabodhi, the soul of the universe. In there, he sees or he contemplates the idea of the universe and establishes it, manifests it, evokes it,
Martin,
emanates.
we have a
Yes.
question, Martin, from Ganesh. He says, thanks, Martin. Can we understand that Swabhavat is the divine plane in which the Logos digs the holes, i.e. koilon?
Okay, it could be seen like that. And that's very Vedanta. In Vedanta, in Buddhism, in Vedanta, Swabhavat Mula Prakriti or Prakriti veils the Parabrahman or Brahman and the unmanifested. So that's another way to see it. And of course, it's below and above is Brahman or Parabrahman and so on. So it's another way to see it. And that's the idea of the eternal parent wrapped in her ever invisible robes. That wrapping is also a field of activity. Remember that when Blavatsky says, like in this case, by the power, Shakti of the Mother of Mercy and Knowledge, Kuan Yin, the triple of the third Logos, male Logos, Kuan Sha Yin, residing in Kuan Yin Tin. This is heaven in China, right? In Buddhism, so to speak. In Theosophy, there is no heaven. There are planes of activity. So yes, when we are manifesting, things are in their plane of activity. So that's another way to see it. You see that person collected ideas, collected information, and now you're putting it together. Sometimes that doesn't fit well, but it's our inability to see in fitting. So it's very important to collect most of ideas that we can and put them in a whole. You see that, Robert, and that person who asked? So yes. And from them, Fohat pulled the universe. Yes, Susan.
I like you're including the image here of Kuan Yin. She's, mentions in the Secret Doctrine when the occultist speaking of Fohat, about it being the energizing and guiding intelligence. And you see, the flowing and the dragon and the energy, and also this guiding. And I liked earlier your idea of contemplating all these ideas, because of course we're witnessing the universe being born, we're witnessing all the monads, the selves being born into experience. And she said another curious thing, that the occultist sees in the manifestation of every force in nature the action of the quality or the special characteristic of its noumenon, the characteristic of the cause.
The mystery.
So we them, which I'm sure you'll mention in conjunction with the voice of the silence.
You see, there's
how
so
we're meant
much
to connect with that.
To tie, to connect. This is the other tool to study theosophy, linking the same idea, connecting the same element that you're studying in order to amplify, to grow with it. And then the universe is formed. Fohat is formed, it's a bridge between spirit and matter. When we are here in matter and we contemplate these ideas, we connect with the Dianchohan, we connect with the spiritual, we connect with Fohat. It's all one. So the deeper we go inside us, towards the ideas that are inside, the farther away in the universe we are, so to speak. Isn't that true? Now, let's go to the voice of the silence. Voice of the silence, in its second, in page 1 of fragment 1, is telling us that in order to hear the voice of the silence, the voice of nada, we have to understand the nature of concentration. And then she defines concentration of the ability of the mind to focus on one interior object. Later on, she says the following. Will you read this? This part of Alaya, which is the third logos. Remember, Alaya is the third logos. Go ahead. 107.
Alas, alas, that all men should possess Alaya, be one with the great soul, and that possessing it, Alaya should so little avail them. Alaya is reflected by the small and by the great. It is mirrored in the tiniest atoms, yet fails to reach the heart of all. Alas, that so few men should profit by the gift, the priceless boon of learning truth, the right perception of existing things, the knowledge of the non-existent. Of teachers, there are many. The master soul is one, Alaya, the universal soul. Live in that master as its ray in thee.
This is a footnote. Read it, please.
The master soul is Alaya, the universal soul, or Atman, each man having a ray of it in him, and being supposed to be able to identify themselves with it and to merge themselves into it. And elsewhere, thou hast to saturate thyself with pure Alaya, become as one with nature's soul thought. And she says elsewhere, compassion is no attribute. It is the law of laws, eternal harmony, Alaya's self.
So in the next talk, we're going to understand the relation, or we're going to study in the Secret Doctrine, the relation between Alaya and the monad, how we're made of, how the monad comes into being, and the monadic impulse that is pushing us, guiding us into this. Remember, Alaya is the inner master. Alaya will provide in its radiancy the prajna paramita, the wisdom of that we need to comprehend and be one with it. And that's what it says. Become as one with. This is done by, as the voice of the silence says, you need to start by concentrating on it. You see what I'm saying? The second instruction, after it tells you that be careful with the lower psychic powers that they're going to make fun of everything you do, but be an obstacle. But the second instruction is got to know what concentration is. Concentration will take you to dhyana, contemplation to samadhi, which is one with it. And in samadhi, you are full of radiance. Now, in the last 140 years, 30 years that we have been studying the voice of the silence, how much concentration do you really know? How many people have really taught a workshop of what to do with the second instruction of the voice of the silence? What is the inner object of the study in the voice of the silence? This is where we're going. You see that? 130 years ago, that book was written. I'm very dramatic here, like Shakespearean. But what have we done with this? You see? Instructions of, when I gave these talks, the first thing people ask me is, how do I concentrate? Oh God, what have we been doing in the last 130 years? You see that? Let alone contemplation. Of course, Tiny did a great job, and they are wonderful guidance there. But remember, Alaya is the idea behind this. Thank you all. Thank you, Susan. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Martin. It's so much to ever think about. One of the things that springs to me is all these different words. We come across words and we don't know the meaning of them, and let alone you give another word and we go, oh, we've come across that terminology before. So sort of really brings home that you were saying linking all these ideas up and writing them down or keeping them in your head and looking up those theosophical encyclopedias and glossaries, which are freely available online, really, for anybody. One of the questions I did have was these three Logoi, the first, second, and third. Do you see those, Madame Blavatsky talk about those as three separate sort of beings or divinities, or are they sort of three aspects of one?
These are three aspects of one. She's always said, but they're all one. She reminds us constantly that the three are the periodical aspect of the one. Remember, everything is eternal and periodical. So when you refer as the eternal aspect of the one, or the three, you are in that mystery, in a state of absoluteness. When you refer to the first, second, and third logos and the universe, you are in a manifested universe that eventually will disappear and become at rest in pralaya, right? Disintegrate. So this is the eternal cycle of the will that she talks. That you first, she's asking us that when we see everything in nature, including the idea of the logo, eternal and periodical, don't forget that. They're all one. They're all the same. So am I my monad? Yes, but Martin is not a monad. It's the skeleton of the monad. Yet it's a periodical manifestation of my monad. So we're going to see that in the third fundamental proposition next month. But that's the idea. We got to keep both things in our mind at the same time when we talk about any idea. Otherwise, we're going to be not understanding the whole picture. How to integrate eternal and periodical? Very difficult. Because the moment we can integrate, the absolute beingness doesn't become a thing or an object or a divinity or a God. It is eternal. It is a mystery. And then the universe is manifestation of that. And the universe is periodic. So you see, everything is eternally periodical. And we got to keep those two ideas together forever. Like marriage. Together and forever. Something like that.
She does talk about, I think, parallel universes and multiverses, and when you have this black circle or say the white dot, do you see these things one succeeding the other, or are they sort of happening all over the place at multiple times, like a glass of sparkling water with all the bubbles rising, and it's all happening in duration?
Right. She speaks in straight line. When she talks, in other words, one after the other. That's the second fundamental proposition. But she's referring to our universe, correct? Our universe is a result of a previous universe and will be another universe. But having a very extensive, infinite, unthinkable, dark blackboard and a white globe doesn't make any sense. You see that? Now, at times she says that the white circle extends as the dark circle, as the dark portion, because the circle is everywhere and the point nowhere, or vice versa. So it's hard to say. Now, when she speaks about 7 universes at the same time, she's going to Vedanta and pick up the 7 lokas and talas. And with that information, she's going to explain that simultaneously, in this very moment, there are 7 universes evolving parallel. And she does in her famous letters to Sinet, A.P. Sinet, to explain how the simultaneity of the 7 human groups in 7 regions that she does not explain in the Secret Doctrine, the first fundamental proposition in anthropogenesis, but she does explain it in a letter, personal letter to Sinet. So again, she locas and talas, 7, but it's all in this, and I think she's just referring to this, and because of the second fundamental proposition. But I love science fiction, so I would love to see many universes.
All right. Yes. Well, thank you very much, Martin and Susan. It's been wonderful. And thank you to everybody online for joining us.
And anyone who wants to ask me a question or talk to me, I'm very open to all that. So you can give my email address. Okay.
Yes. If anyone's interested, just drop me a line. You should all have my email address, and I'll get to presentation and give you Martin's contact details if you're interested. So until November, much gratitude and thanks to both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you all.